Welcome, brothers and sisters, to Mother and Refuge of the End Times. We would like to share some thoughts from a recent article by Rod Dreher titled Benedict XVI Apocalypse. The article states that many tradition-minded Catholics hold a lot of anger in their hearts for what Benedict did, considering him to have abandoned the flock through his retirement. It's very easy to understand the anger of Catholics suffering from aspects of Francis's papacy. But I wonder if Benedict understood something about his mission that the rest of us don't. I heard from a priest friend this morning a theory that Benedict's mission was to suffer on behalf of the faith, to suffer from the Church. That Benedict, not John Paul II, is the Pope of the Third Secret of Fatima. That somehow, in his renunciation, and subsequent humiliation and abuse, Joseph Ratzinger played a mystical role in the drama of salvation, especially as that drama reaches a crescendo with the approaching great apostasy of the West. If this theory is right, then the Catholic Church may be in its Good Friday moment. Imagine what the followers of Jesus must have been thinking, having watched the man they believed was the incarnation of the all-powerful God, allowing himself to be publicly humiliated, falsely convicted, stripped, beaten, tortured, and then murdered in the most shameful and sadistic way. They must have been disoriented at best. At best. Could it be that Joseph Ratzinger, for reasons known only to himself and to God, followed a similar path? And that he did so because, as Jesus alone knew, it was only by being a sacrificial lamb that the enemy could be defeated? I think it is certainly possible. In a thin book published a few years ago, the influential philosopher Giorgio Agamben wrote, when he was still a young theologian, Joseph Ratzinger studied the thinking of Tychonius, a theologian of the 4th century, who said that the body of the Church is divided into a dark and evil church and a righteous one. In the present state, the two bodies of the Church are inseparably commingled, but they will divide at the end of time. The Church, the future Pope wrote in 1956, is until the Last Judgment both the Church of Christ and the Church of the Antichrist. The Antichrist belongs to the Church, grows in it and with it up to the Great Separation, which will be introduced by the ultimate revelation. I'm wondering this morning whether or not Benedict believed it was his mission to purify the Church before the end, by allowing the mystery of iniquity to reveal itself fully. No, I'm not saying Francis is the Antichrist. The Antichrist will be a political leader. I'm saying that the forces rapidly reshaping the West by destroying what's left of its Christianity, even within the Catholic Church, are the forces that will ultimately draw history to its close. I think it is possible, this is speculation, that the gentle Benedict at last conceived of his mission as Pope as drawing out evil, in allowing hell to do its very best, so it can ultimately be defeated. The Anglican Bishop N.T. Wright wrote in his simple book about Revelation that this is the apocalyptic scenario, that the final book of the Bible puts forth, that only after evil has done its very worst, and the demon has exposed itself fully, can it be destroyed once and for all. I want to make myself clear, I'm not saying that is what happened, and is happening, here. I'm saying it's a possibility. In a 2016 interview, Paul Badd of EWTN asked Monsignor Ganswein about the famous Saint Malachy medieval prophecy, according to which Benedict XVI would be the last pope before Petrus Romanus would lead the Church into the last days. Ganswein said, indeed, when looking at the prophecy, and considering how there was always a sound reference to popes mentioned in its history, that gives me the shivers. He added that it was not required that Catholics should accept the prophecy as valid, but that it is a wake-up call. Benedict himself had this to say about the Malachy prophecy, in one of his final Seawald interviews, anything can be, the prophecy probably arose in circles around Philip Neri. And he simply wanted to say, in contrast to the Protestants, who were then saying the papacy was at an end, that, through an endless series of popes yet to come, no, it is not at an end. But you don't have to conclude that it really ceases then. His series was never going to be long enough. Along with Ganswein's more positive judgment on the Malachy prophecy, it is interesting to think about what Benedict is not saying here. That is, he's not outright denying it. That's not the same thing as saying he believes in it, of course. Still, Ganswein credits the Malachy prophecy enough to be afraid of what it portends. I have more to say about this, but it will have to wait for later. The more I learn about Joseph Ratzinger in his death, the more I am coming to recognize that he was truly an apocalyptic figure, and I am drawn into the great mystery of his self-sacrifice. Again, more later. I decided that I need to be in Rome for the great Pope's funeral. It is a world historical moment which, if that's not clear now, it soon will be. Thank you for watching. Without doubt, the mystical and prophetic nature of Pope Benedict's final years and his symbolic white martyrdom, a sacrificial offering for the Church, in time, and if God wills, will become more apparent for all to see. Immaculate Heart of Mary.